Good morning, and welcome to the International Mastermind Think and Grow Rich show. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist, and I am just so excited to be hanging out with you today. We're going to be talking about the principle of imagination as we walk through this classic, iconic book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So let me ask you, before we jump into this, let me ask you, how can you tell when you've got an opportunity that's going to require imagination? And when you think of imagination, what do you think about? A lot of times people think about imagination where you come up with something totally creative that's totally out of the blue, that's never been done before. And that is a type of imagination. That's creative imagination where you get a download from the ether or a download from the universe. There's also the kind of imagination called synthetic imagination, where you take things that already exist, but maybe they don't exist in combination with each other. Maybe they don't exist for the purpose that you are intending it for, but you're pulling together old ideas, you're giving them a fresh coat of paint, and you're repurposing it. Both kinds of imagination are vital. The only problem is we tend to want to do what's already been done before. Imagination takes courage. Whether it's creative imagination or whether it's synthetic imagination, it takes courage to want to package something up in a way that hasn't been done before. And that's what the universe is waiting for you to do, to leverage your imagination to solve problems or create value for people so that they can compensate you for money or compensate you with whatever else that you might desire. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I am actually alone. I am by myself. So I am just really excited about the guest that we're going to have. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Dr. Juanita H. Grant is the founder and CEO of Inspired by Juanita LLC. Uh, and she is the mother of five and the foster parent of 30 children over 25 years. She embodies compassion and dedication, holding a master's of service, a master of science in community economic development, and a doctorate in theological studies. I have no idea how she does all of that or how she's been able to accomplish all of that. Definitely requires some imagination. She's committed to empowering women and girls to overcome adversities and lead purposeful lives. Through her dynamic speaking engagements, workshops, and coaching, she addresses topics such as transformational leadership, life skills, parenting, financial literacy, and personal development. Boy, I can't wait to get into this conversation because anyone that can do all of that has to have a good dose of imagination. So, Dr. Juanita Grant, come on into the show.
Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you today?
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. Before we get into this, before we get into today's conversation about imagination, did I go through the right bio? You got five kids and 30 foster kids, and you bachelor of science,
Mhm.
PhD. Do you sleep on Tuesdays? What's the deal here?
I could use some more sleep, but I don't sleep. One of the things that Steve Harvey says is you get rest and not sleep. So, with that said, I tend to work hard. However, I'm learning to work more smart and to use my imagination more. So, I'm really excited about the topic we're going to be talking about today.
Well, fantastic.
So, yes, I do have five children. Um, and I do have one 4-year-old granddaughter.
Ah,
Yes. And I have fostered over 25, 30 children over the years. Some still come to visit me. Some keep in contact with me. We have very good relationships. Thank you. Mhm.
Oh, fantastic. That's just absolutely amazing. I've got one who is actually on her way home from college, and
Wow.
I can't imagine having five. And I certainly don't think I could be a person to sign up for fostering over 30 kids on top of that. So definitely want to get into this
Mhm.
conversation about imagination. But before we get further into this conversation, I just got to acknowledge the folks that are riding with us on YouTube. We got Doretha Dennis. She is a everyday trooper. She's always here. So is Ms. 446 Smitty. Laura Jackson, thank you for joining us. Johnny Lloyd is usually in the house, so thank you for being here. Shannon Charlton, I see you every Saturday morning as well. Victoria Long Coleman, thank you. And she wants to say good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to the moms, sisters, aunties, godmothers, and teachers. So we are just so excited about this conversation. Get your questions ready because this is going to be an absolute treat to have Dr. Juanita Grant be part of us. Juanita, before we go to this video where we talk about all of the principles together, talk a little bit about your background, just from a top line. I mean, what was the journey like for you to get to a point where you're holding doctorates and degrees and you're fostering kids and parenting. What was that journey like for you to get to where you are now?
It's been a very interesting road, very interesting journey. As a child, I wanted to be an author and an actor. I worked really hard to try to figure it out, but I'm the oldest of this whole generation, and it wasn't always easy me working to strive to do the things that I wanted to do because I had to care for my younger siblings. And I believe over the years, because of my love for my younger siblings, if I said older, my younger siblings, that's what got me into doing the foster care because I loved working with children. I loved caring for them. I worked with an agency and I said, I'm gonna, work with one or two children. And then the ball kept rolling. I continued to work with youth. I also became a teacher. I started facilitating different programs, putting together programs to work with youth. And then I started working with the parents because I realized that there were a lot of parents who needed some guidance. So I began to work with them, put on workshops, and it just kept spiraling from there. I worked with a program for parents who've lost their children due to violence. And as I began to work with people, I started working more with DCF to help parents who were struggling with different things to begin to work with families so that they can keep that family cohesive and together because growing up it was kind of tough for me. I
Yeah.
went through a lot and became an overachiever, and that's why I've accomplished so much. But now that I'm older and I celebrated my birthday on Tuesday, I said it's time for me to turn these things around so that I can enjoy the rest of my life. I want to be like Anne when I grow up.
Well, there's a long line of wanting to be like Ann when we grow up. So first of all, happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you
And
so
so
much.
I want to share this video because this video talks about all the different principles and it talks about how they all connect. So although we're talking about imagination today, I want you to pay attention to how these principles connect as we share this video. So.
Number one is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step two is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step three is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical. But what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right, there you have it, all 13 principles. I love the way the video kind of puts the principles right in front of us. Because although, as I said earlier, although these are each powerful by themselves, when you see how they connect, that's where the real magic starts to happen. So, Juanita, I want to bring you back into the conversation. So, one of Anne's favorite questions is around when were you first introduced to this book? So, when was your first introduction to this book in a significant way?
My first, the first significant way I was into this book was when I met Anne before COVID. not sure of the year. However, she said, you really need to read this book and you need to apply this to your life. And then I went to the International Mastermind Association, and it was just like, wow, I really got to understand. And I began participating in the masterminds. And at first, I didn't get it. And I read the book over. And this time, being part of the mastermind, the second to the last time I got it, but I'm really understanding, digging deeper and seeing the transformation of things because I understand now the importance of the steps that we have to take to obtain the riches that we desire. When you don't understand, you're just reading a book. But once you understand the principles and you begin to truly apply them, like Ann says, it's so much different today. And I made a decision on my birthday, Tuesday, because I did just turn 55, you know, to apply these principles so that the later years of my life will be greater than those, from the beginning.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that transition because one of my favorite questions is around when did this become more than just a book? I've got dozens of books on my shelf that I like the title, so I bought the book. I kind of skimmed it. I haven't really read it. I've got a couple books, several books that I've read once. Ah, great concepts. Put it back on the shelf, and it's just there. But this book, the pages are barely together. The cover is kind of frayed. The plastic is coming off. When did this book become more than just a book for you?
Became more than just a book when I began to catch things that I've missed that are very key and important. For example, we're reading imagination. That's what we're talking about today. There's two different types of imagination. You have the synthetic imagination, which does not bring you money, and you have creative imagination, which does. And there is a difference. And that was an aha moment for me. When I'm very creative, we can come up with different ideas, but those ideas that make money are the ones that you need to go off of. There's no crazy idea. If you're doing the old stuff, throw it out the window. Because if it hasn't worked before, it's not going to work again, no matter how you package it. You have to make sure that you're creative and that you do it. No matter how crazy it seems, just do it. It will work out and it will profit and be very successful for you.
Yeah, okay. So I want you to tap into some of your parenting skills, right, for a second
Yes.
here. So now, what would you say to one of your kids or to one of your foster kids, and they might come to you and say, but Mama Grant, Mama Juanita, whatever they call you, I'm not very creative. I'm not a creative person. I heard you say that we're all creative. What if people believe that they're not creative? What encouragement would you offer to them?
Everybody's creative. Everybody thinks of something that no one else does. There's always an idea. And my daughter, for example, she she went through an experience and she wanted to teach girls how to use their voice. And I explained to her, I said, why don't you go to school since you're part of a girls group and let them know that you want to start a program of how to use your voice. She went, she spoke to the person, and she said, I want to teach the girls and talk to them about using their voice. At first, the woman was skeptical. She came back and she said, she said she might do it. And I said, no, no, we're not doing might. So I sat down with her. We went over a format and I explained to her the different points you could talk about and the things you could present to the girls. And we put together a little proposal. And she went back to the school. She brought it to the teacher and is now a club. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has something to offer. And with a little guidance, you can do it. You can get it done. And she did.
Fantastic. That's an amazing story. And for
Mhm.
me, that really highlights one of the things I believe gets in the way of us expressing our creativity, our imagination, and that's courage, right? You got to have the courage to propose something that hadn't been done before, right?
Absolutely.
And one of the things that gets in the way is this idea of fear. What role has overcoming fear played in all the things you're doing, as well as how you're showing up as a caregiver to fosters? What's been the role of or the impact of overcoming fear?
It's very important to overcome fear, especially when you have children, you expect to raise them with a significant other and you find yourself alone. So I am a single parent of those five with all of the accomplishments that I continue to push forward and persevere. Had I held on to fear, I would not have graduated from school. I would have stopped in my tracks and I would have just utilized excuses to just sit there and not do anything. I continue to work on different projects to teach as many people as possible that no matter what you go through in life, that you can do things and you can get them done. You can accomplish your goals and you can be successful. And I see myself as a successful person and I continue to push forward. And when that fear tries to come, I tell it to just get out my way, shut your mouth. I have things that I have to do and I have to accomplish those things.
Yeah. Well, you are reminding me something that I share with my clients often, and that is that very often that voice of fear is very aggressive. It's very condescending. It's very, oh, who do you think you are? You really think you're going, right? It usually has a little edge to it.
Absolutely.
And then when we respond to fear, we're usually polite. We're usually, oh, that's okay. But I sensed a little attitude in your response back to fear. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of energy when you're responding or acknowledging your fear.
You know, Galen, is so funny because people will tell you you can't do that or you can't accomplish that goal. And that's when fear had tried to set in with me. I was listening to those voices.
Mm,
However, I decided, especially in the book, fear is just, you just have to take that off your list because fear will paralyze you. It will stop you
mhm.
from going forward to accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish in your life. We don't have time for fear. And in fact, one of my prayers on my birthday, I made the decision to not allow fear to stop me in any way, shape, or form. When I come up with an idea, to go for it, whether or not I have the finances or the money, to push forward and to do it afraid. So that is my motto, do it afraid.
I love
So we don't have time for fear, especially with all of the changes that are coming and the things that are going on today in life. It's really important to do it afraid. We don't have time for fear. Do it.
I love it. I love it. Just do it afraid. And another thing that you highlighted for me is how many of us, we have a tendency to focus on the reality of what's in front of us rather than the reality that we want to create. And that's where the imagination comes in. We
Yes.
can either live in the reality of what we see, or we can live in the reality of what we want. It almost sounds like we're starting to get into some scripture here, because scripture kind of talks about the importance of that. Bring in one of those fancy degrees and help me talk through the importance of seeing things that you want to have as opposed to seeing things as they are.
Yes, we got to see those things that are not as though they are. We have to. When we go forward and we do the things that God's put in my heart to do some things and I didn't do it because I said I don't have the money or I didn't feel confident in the plan that I had. One of the things that Ann said, what is it that you want to do? What are you going to accomplish? And I had to sit there and think about it. It's so important when God puts something inside of you, whether or not you have the money, do it. When when he gives you a vision, he makes provision. He will make sure that that plan comes to pass. Don't sit on it. go for it and persevere and do it. I'm about to, excuse me, I am working on my vision, and I am making sure that every single step is taken because God showed me what to do. And I'm glad He gave me the opportunity to do it. He poured into me. So now I'm going forward. I went away to the Cape. I'm back. And I've just been working diligently, putting those things into action. So when He gives you a vision, put it into action right away. Don't ask questions. Don't doubt yourself. Don't give fear any room to settle in. Make sure that you persevere. When He gives you something, He's giving it to you for a reason.
Wow, I love it. I love it. I love the way the author talks about how, and again, I'm seeing a connection to scripture as well with this, talks about how you can strengthen and you can weaken your imagination, and that's through use, right? If you, the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Absolutely.
The less you use it, the more you succumb to fear, the weaker your imagination is going to get. And
Mhm.
I think I remember hearing something about you can trouble the Holy Spirit. And one of the ways you can trouble the Holy Spirit is if you just stop listening to the Holy, the Holy Spirit is giving you all this advice, all this guidance, and you're not listening and you're not following. I mean, just think about if you had a good friend and you kept trying to give them good advice and they weren't listening to you, eventually you're just going to stop giving them the advice.
Absolutely.
Did I get that right? How does that?
You absolutely got that right. One of the things we did talk about the last mastermind, Galen, we talked about those people who are not in the position that we're in, that are not going to encourage you to go forward. We have to release the weight, the weight of those people because they're like anchors holding us down. There's no way for us to go forward and persevere in life if we have people who are not grounded and seasoned to push us forward to do the things that we need to do. And this season in my life, there's a lot of the weights and the thorns that need to be removed so that I can go forward. We all need to make sure that we have those positive, I call them cheerleaders in our life, so that they could cheer us on. And if we don't, if they're not cheering us on, then we need to sit down and really think about those people who are there in our life, especially during the season. We have to pay attention so that we can grow to exponential heights. This is, like I said, this is the time and this is the season. We need to really evaluate. I was at a church conference last night, and she said, if they're not there for you to grow, because God has planted seeds in each and every one of us, then we need to pull those weeds up. You understand what I'm saying? Those weeds have got to go. There's no, my son's been pruning the garden outside. He's been pulling up those weeds, and those tulips are so beautiful. If we leave those weeds there, they choke us, they choke the vision, and we are limited and we cannot grow.
Wow. I love that. Just the visual of weeding the garden because, we want to be polite, we want to be kind, but you can't be polite when you're pulling weeds,
No,
right? Because if you
you got to
just
be
like,
aggressive.
if you just top off the weeds, it might look good for now, but you got to pull from the roots. You got to get the roots in order
Yes,
for there to be space for those tulips to grow.
absolutely.
Um, talk a little bit about how, like I said, my parents raised me to be a nice person. My grandmother insisted that I be polite and kind. But when it comes to navigating and taking ownership of your life, kindness won't necessarily weed out those negative forces. Talk a little bit about how do we overcome that upbringing that we might have to be nice and kind, but still have ownership of this is my life, these are the kinds of people that I want to have in it.
Hmm. It's funny, growing up, my mother used to tell me, oh, if someone hits you, don't hit them back, or, be careful so you don't get in trouble in school. I taught my children growing up. I said, if they hit you, You knock them out, and then you let me know, and I'll be down to school to support you. Because when you are so nice, people run over you. They they will extract so much information until they dry you. I choose to speak up. I choose to use my voice. I choose to ensure that whatever is needed that I'm able to achieve. And if I don't know, to go to those who have the answers to get to a different place. I teach my children we don't know everything, and we need to go to those who do. I found so many people are, you can't do this, you don't know how, or so many limiting things. Not today. Not today. We have to speak up. We have to ask for help, and we have to make sure that we go to the right people. And we also need to evaluate our circles of influence, our circles of growth, and our circles, so that we are, this year is fertilizer. I just see fertilizer. We need to make sure that we grow as a people, that our children and our families grow, and things change. Legacy, for example, it's not just a state, it's a being. In
Hmm.
order to leave a legacy, you have to fight for those things that are needed to just be on a different page, a different level. And if you don't speak up and if you're silent, you will just stay there and you will be left behind.
Hmm. I
Will be
love
left
it. I love it. And we're loving this in the YouTube chat. So if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit that thumbs up icon underneath the video so that we can tell the algorithm that there's a lot more going on than what the U.S. administration is doing. We've also got some questions. So Victoria Long Coleman it says, "Hello, Dr. Grant. When have you mistaken fearless? When have you mistaken fearlessness for recklessness, or fear for wisdom? What's the difference in how you and how did it feel?"
fear for recklessness and fear for wisdom. Was that the,
Yeah,
say that again?
yeah. He said,
Okay.
"When have you mistaken fearlessness for recklessness, or fear for wisdom?"
Very easy to get the two mixed up. However, the fear and standing still has been very reckless in my life. When God has given me the steps to take and I was too afraid to go forward and do it, it has cost me so much. With wisdom and really listening and taking that time to sit down and say, okay, this is what you want me to do. Show me how to do it. With that, I have grown so much. So we can be very reckless when we stay still, when we are afraid and we don't go forward and do those things that can change our lives and help us to catapult to a whole nother level. I have made very reckless decisions that I almost lost it all. With wisdom, I've made better decisions. I'm in a better place. We all are, and we all grow, and we all come to greater works within our lives and within our families. And I choose to use wisdom today. And I hope I answered your question.
Well, fantastic. You know, you're really causing me to think about this book by Lisa Feldman Barrett, where she talks about how the title of the book is "How Emotions Are Made," and she talks about how we tend to think that we have a belief, and because of that belief, we get a feeling, we get a physical manifestation of that belief. And she says that the opposite is actually true. We have a physical expression, and based upon that physical expression, we label it. And based upon how we label it, that determines how we approach things. Because she says that the you have the same physical expression from excitement as you have from fear. Same physical
Mhm.
expression. You know, for some of us, you know, our temperature may rise, our hands may get sweaty, we may get shortness of breath, excitement, and fear. And the difference is the story that we tell ourselves about what's going to happen on the other side of this activity.
Mhm.
If we tell ourselves that this is going to be something great, then we're excited. If we tell ourselves that this is going to be something dangerous, then we're going to be afraid. How do you distinguish between fear and excitement? Because Lisa Feldman Barrett says it's basically the same. It's based upon what's going on inside of our head.
Well, with that's a good question. I know when I get excited, I will continue to push forward if the cost is worth it. Um, like I said, I'm not sure that that's a very good question, but when I feel fear, there is a difference for me. When when there is that feeling of fear, there's a sixth sense that you feel. And there is a different feeling for me. It doesn't feel good,
Mm,
fear. Even though you can have some of the same symptoms, there is a difference. When that small voice says to you, be careful, what proceed with caution, and if you take the wrong step, you're going to fall,
mm,
as opposed to I am going to do this assignment. I am going to get an A. I am nervous. I know that I have to word things accurately and I have to answer the question so that I could persevere and go forward. You do have those same feelings. However, there is a distinguishing feeling between the two.
mm. Got it. Got it. And then my good friend Cherise Taylor, she says, in a world driven by logic and data, how can we create more space for imagination so that we can thrive? What's your thought about creating capacity, creating space for imagination?
I believe in finding the need and filling the gap. There's a lot of things that could be improved or done differently so that we can have different outcomes. As far as I'm not the best, for example, with technological things and stuff, that's not my area of expertise. But as far as content and creation, coming up with different ideas and stuff, that's where I tend to thrive. So I leave that for anything of that nature for the millennials. However, my role is to guide them during with these new upcoming ventures within technology and so forth.
Yeah.
For example, I just started using AI because I chose to use my creativity. I didn't know whether or not AI would, for example, give me something and give someone the same thing. So I continue to utilize my creative juices. I do use AI to give me additional examples that I didn't think of. So those are some of the things. Never lose who you are in technology and what you have to present to the world,
Mm.
because that is your uniqueness.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We don't want to abdicate responsibility for creativity to technology, right?
Absolutely.
I often comment on how technology is a tool to allow us to do the things that we want to do.
Absolutely.
Technology shouldn't tell us what we want to do,
No,
but it should be a tool to help us do things faster, quicker, right, less expensively, that kind of thing. But the creativity needs to come from us. I love that.
absolutely.
And then Sarah Smith says that she just acknowledges that it's a mindset shift that needs to take place. Was there a shift for you, or have you always been a creative, imaginative, responsible person, or was there a shift that had to take place for you?
I've always been creative, and imaginative, always. There was a point in my life when I was experiencing so much adversity that I I kind of was stifled for a while, and I got into a major car accident. It was really hard, but upon getting myself back together and making the decision to accomplish those goals that I was working on, I had a book signing one day. The next day, I was in a massive car accident, and it took me over a year and a half to heal. Now I'm running. I'm running forward. I'm doing those things that I was doing before, but I am accomplishing them on different levels and just running with the vision, running, and I'm not going to allow anything to stop me.
I love it.
So that was the pivotal point for me in my life.
Okay, fantastic. Well, all right. Well, hey, I also want to acknowledge the folks that are here in the studio. So we got Angela Sturgis here. We got Paul H. who's here. Patricia Juba is here. Hope I pronounced your last name correctly. If you have questions, definitely put that in the chat in the Q&A section. Let's keep those questions coming. We're talking with Dr. Juanita Grant. She is talking about imagination, the importance of not just having the imagination, but the courage that's required in order to express and offer up that imagination. Because I talk about leadership, and I think the same is true for imagination. If you are a leader, by definition, that means you see things that other people don't see, or you see things faster than people might see. And you might be out on a limb by yourself for a moment until other people can follow along. I want to go back to this idea of courage. What does courage look like as it pertains to imagination in the work that you do? What were some moments where you felt like you were the only person on the planet that can see this or that can think this way, and you're going to raise your hand? I like what Will Smith says. Yeah, you got to be somewhat delusional, right? To think that everyone's going to listen or someone's going to listen to your idea. What was that like for you? Has there been a time when you felt like you were the only one with this idea, and it might not be as relevant to other folks?
Yes. Yes. I when ideas are presented and there's adversity and I have feedback that people are like, I don't know if that's gonna work. I'll try. Some things I stand firm on, but there's some things where I will try it because guess what? When we come together and we work together as a team, things can work out, but there are just some things that you have to hold on to. And that sometimes can be the chain breaker, the thing that will catapult you to where you need to be. Sometimes the things that we have inside of us as leaders will bring our team to a whole different place if implemented accurately. We It's just so important to make sure that the vision is shared because it's not just for us, it's for everyone. It's for everyone. And leaders, we don't think about just ourselves, we think about everyone. So it's so important to make sure that when we have something and it's so strong, that we stand on it and that we push forward. There is sometimes room to implement other things to add or take away, but I stand. I stand when there's things that need to be done a certain particular way.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, can you think of a specific example or story of when, it was kind of scary because you felt like you were out there on your own, but you persevered, you had the courage, you put your idea out there, and it made all the difference in the world.
So there was a proposal that needed to be done. And as we sat down as a group, they gave me all of these different ideas and suggestions. However, someone said to me, answer the question. That's it, just that simple. They said, make sure you read the question a few times and answer the question. So, with all of the feedback and everything that was given to me, I said, nope. I took a lot of the stuff out and I simply answered the question and we were funded. Some
Wow.
things are just that simple. But everybody likes to add their vision, add their things, but sometimes we have to answer the question without doing that. And it's so important, even with our imagination. There, like it says, there's two forms of imagination. One will bring you no prosperity, and the other one will. I choose to be prosperous this year. And with using the gifts, I choose to make sure that I it's time to make money. It's time to put those figures there. And it's time within our imaginations to use that desire for it to be so strong so that we get to where we desire to be. If we don't use our imagination correctly, we will not grow forward. And the imagination I choose to use is the creative imagination. There's no time for us to use synthetic imagination. And in the book, um, I just want everybody to understand. It says, keep in mind as you follow the principles that the entire story of how one may convert desire into money cannot be told in one statement. The story will be complete only when one has mastered, assimilated, and begun to make use of all the success principles that are explained and tied together in this book. The great leaders of business, industry, finances, and the great artists, musicians, poets, and writers became great because they developed the faculty of creative imagination. So even though there's two different forms of imagination, I want to make sure that I continue to be creative and not stay stagnant and not grow to where I need to be in this life. Like I said, I just celebrated my birthday. And whether or not we celebrate birthdays, we need to come to a pivotal point in our lives where we're using creative juices so that we are not going backwards, that we're going forward. We're not going to grow if we don't go forward.
I love it, and to grow, to go forward, and especially to use that creative imagination. You're going to have to go to a new land that I will reveal to you. Right? Sometimes
Absolutely.
you got to move before you have all the details, and
Hmm.
that again takes courage. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Even this year, I partnered up with someone and we came up with women overcoming obstacles. We also have to do things differently and to not continue to spin the same wheel, but to do something different. So this year, I hope that everybody with creative mindsets do things that are different so that you can get different results. And yes, I have attended the annual meetings and I will be there this upcoming year in January. And I look forward to seeing everybody there. Absolutely.
All right. Hey, Dr. Juanita, I'd love for you to talk. Let's talk about this annual meeting because this is something that's become kind of a baked in part of my calendar. So my the first week in January, at least that first weekend in January, my clients can't get a hold of me because I've got a permanent block on that period. That's when we get together. This coming year, we're going to get together in Boca Raton, Florida, on January 2nd and 3rd. Whatever that first Friday and Saturday are in the week. It's where we get together with like-minded people who can speak specifically into the life that you're attempting to create. Now, there's a registration fee, but the real cost of admission is that you've got to come with your life in writing. You've got to document what have I done over the past 364 days. and specifically, what goals do I have for the next 365 days in 10 areas of your life? It's very easy for us to talk about here are my goals from a business standpoint, here are my goals from a financial standpoint. But what about creativity? What about family? What about recreation? What about your health, right? What are your goals relative to your health and the rest of the areas? That's what we have to be accountable to others for the time that we've spent this past year, but also what are our goals for this for the upcoming year? Talk a little bit, Dr. Juanita, about your experience at the annual meeting. Why is it so worthwhile? I mean, who's got time for another conference, right? What was the benefit of attending this annual meeting?
The benefits of attending the meeting, when I went the first time, I was blown away. I was looking through Anne's books and how she documented everything. I also met with a lot of people, and to see the breakout groups and how people were working together and the masterminding. Oh my goodness, it really it stretched me. And I said, wow, they're doing great things. I'm gonna, it made me really work and start writing things down and to look at my life differently. It created such a mindset shift for me. I was so appreciative. I couldn't go this past January, but what I did, I sat down with my family. I met with each one of my children individually, and I let them know the things that I expect of them and the things that they should expect for themselves. So we put together plans, and it's time for us to meet again the end of this month to see if they've accomplished the goals that we discussed in the beginning of the year, to see where they are in preparations for January, because my two oldest sons will be with me, and potentially my daughter when I do go, so that they can experience and get the same understanding. If we do not take charge of our lives, and if we do not put these things in writing, we're not going to accomplish them and be successful as we would, as we should be. I'll say it that way. But it
Fantastic.
was a life-changing moment going, and I encourage everyone to go.
Yes. So everyone, go to internationalmasterminders.com, internationalmasterminders.com, get information about the upcoming annual meeting. And Anne is always very specific to say that this is not a conference. This is not a seminar. I've gone. I think I've been there like 5 or 6 times. I've never gotten a conference bag. There's no keynote speaker. You are the focus of the conference, and you are the focus of the annual meeting. It's an annual meeting for your life, and it's really where you get clarity around who you're trying to be. What's the purpose of climbing a ladder if you never evaluate where the ladder's leaning and whether or not
Yeah.
that's where you want to be?
And also the dates have changed. It's the following weekend, Galen. Um, and for those of us who need it, could you please put the link in the chat, please?
Yeah, we definitely will. We definitely
Thank
will.
you.
As we are starting to come to a close, what are some key thoughts that you'd like to leave the audience with, and how can people get a hold of you if they want to get some of this insight and inspiration for themselves?
Absolutely. So I can be reached, um, not the best with all of the social media sites, but I am on Facebook a lot more and LinkedIn. So you can reach me on those two platforms. You can also, I will put my website, which will be turned on today because I had some changes made. Inspired by Juanita, .org. I am putting that in there now. And I will also add my LinkedIn and my the LinkedIn and my Facebook links as well. But that's how you can catch me quicker than others. So I am very happy and excited. I also finished my journal. It's called Don't Quit, Do It. I tried to put it in the chat, but I don't know how to, and my son is not awake, but it's called Don't Quit, Do It. You will see it. I'll make sure that I put it on Facebook. You'll find it there. And we have a Woonsa event coming up on March the 29th. It's going to be at Talia's in Taunton, Massachusetts. So those are that's a Woonsa moment with the creativity moment that I talked about working with my new partner in the adventure. So I just want to say thank you for asking.
Well, fantastic. Well, this has been a great conversation. I'll tell you, one of the things that I have gotten from this conversation is the importance of taking responsibility for your own life. And you got to take responsibility. You've got to create the vision. You've got to leverage your creativity. You've got to, I love the visual of you've got to weed the garden. Because if you're not aggressive with the weeds in your life, the weeds will take over. And it doesn't matter how nice the picture of the tulips are on the outside of the seed packet. If you don't do the things that you need to in order to till the ground and to weed the garden, you're not going to get what you're hoping for. And so you've really brought that to life. So I really appreciate that. Um, my name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist. There are just so many different ways you can get a hold of me, but the best way, the most important and most profitable way to get a hold of me is to check out my podcast, Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership, on any podcast platform. We talk to leaders literally all over the world about what they think it really takes to be an effective leader. We actually just closed season 7. So you can go in, check out the podcast, get caught up on all the past episodes because we're going to be launching season 8 here shortly. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Juanita, any final thoughts for you as we get ready to head out?
Yes, I would like to encourage people. I know with changing times during the season, it is so important to ensure that we remain creative, that we continue to push forward with our desires and imagine. One of the things that I respect the most that Ann says, when she gets up at 5 o'clock, she has a pen and she has a notebook and she writes down everything that God has given to her. I suggest we all begin to do the same thing. And just those dreams and wishes and hopes that we had as children will be profitable. When I was a child, I wanted to be an author. Today, I am an author. We can do it. Please don't stop being creative. Don't stop. Continue to do the things that you know that you can do. Don't worry about the finances. Don't worry about anything. Just do it, and it will be done. I encourage each and every one today.
Just that simple. Just that simple. Well, until next time, we're going to wish you well. Encourage you to be back here every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we continue to walk through the book Think and Grow Rich. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist and can't wait to see you next week. Until next time, take care.